Is your business struggling to come back during this COVID-19, this new world we're living in, with this new way business is being done? Is your business mindset set right? Well, we got a guest here today that's going to help you set your business on the right track so you can finish off 2020 and head into 2021 ready to kick ass and take names. All this and more coming up next. To the point. You figure that out because you're watching it, right? You're like, well, I know this is to the point. And of course, you know what I'm going to say. We got a good one for you, but we do. We got our favorite guy back here for the Business Edge on a Monday. None other than Marine Corps veteran and serial entrepreneur, the man, the myth, the legend, George the Lighthouse Bryant will be joining us today. We're excited. Great topic. We're going to talk about business mindset. That's right, your business mindset, not your personal mindset, not how you wake up in the morning, look at yourself and go, how I'm going to do it. That's part of it. We're going to talk about your business mindset, how you can finish 2020 strong. That's right, strong, like Arnold. We're here to pump you up. That's what we're doing here today. We're going to talk about how we can get your business booming again. Stop hiding behind COVID. Stop putting your head in the sand and going, I don't know what we're going to do. Now grab your pen, grab some paper, and take some notes, because for the next 40 minutes, buckle up. We're going to give you how to set your business mindset right so you can finish 2020 strong and whoop 2021's ass, because that's what we're here for, folks. We're here for some good entrepreneurship and here to solve problems and kick ass and take names. That's what we're doing today, like we do every day with our good buddy. As you know, we always have George on our show. George is our Monday guy, amazing veteran. He'll be joining us here shortly. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, is your business mindset. And it's important to hold your business mindset right, because so many people struggle with their business mindset. They let everything on the outside drive them nuts. They worry about what outsiders say. They worry about their haters. They spend so much time posting on LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram, my haters. Who cares about your haters? Your haters are spending overtime worrying about you. Don't say anything to them. Don't engage them. Laugh at them. Trust me, I have haters. This is how I know. I have people that when I say, hey, do you want to come on our show, say, I've already done something with you several years ago. Yeah, of course, it was several years ago. Now you don't want to come on our show, you big britches? Stop lying. Your business is nothing but based online, and you don't do nothing with it. You always, I need to serve a handout. That's how I respond to my haters. They always are like, I know the truth. They don't want a handout. They don't want to work hard. They want to talk about working hard, like we've seen from so many guests. So many people want to talk about working hard. And that is the problem with the business mindset that so many people have. Because they look at other people online and go, I want to be like those people. Yet they don't know the smoke and mirrors and the bullshit that goes on. It doesn't count if you don't say it out loud, right? Anyways, folks, let's get to it. I'm fired up for today's show, so let's welcome to the show my good friend, United States Marine and badass entrepreneur, George the Lighthouse Bryant. Welcome to the show, George. How you doing today, bud?
I am stoked to be here, my friend. I'm great. How are you?
I am peachy keen. It's always good when you're on the show, man. It's like, let's bring some fire. Let's rain down fire on business people. That's what I like to do in a positive way. Let's help our fellow business people out, because so many folks are struggling to get that business mindset set back right? We kind of hit March, and March kind of punked everybody, a nasty, as we like to say, throat punch to fixing your business. And I know some businesses have done great during COVID-19, and other businesses, unfortunately, you can drive around and see a lot of them closing their doors. And as you and I both know, Yelp just released a survey just two or three short weeks ago. 60% of businesses on Yelp have closed permanently.
Wow.
It's a scary world. And when you hear that, it does make you want to put your head in the sand. But business owners, I think, from a business owner perspective, there's two ways: you either fight or flight. That's the only way I see it when it comes to being a business owner. You can be one of those sulky business owners that ends up on social media and presents this whole you're the greatest, and doesn't show the struggle of your business or the truth. There's a lot of them out there, and they're the same ones that'll talk shit, excuse my French, that's not French, but hey, I just made it French. They'll be the same ones that'll trash your business or your success instead of helping you or want to partner. Or unfortunately, in our community, the veteran community, as I will say, I'm gonna say it, it might not be popular. In our community, somehow, some way, if you do good as a veteran, you are the enemy, and you're supposed to provide all your services for free. That's not just you, that's not just me. I've seen it, I've seen people even trash, and I'm gonna say the brands that have been trashed. I've watched Black Rifle Coffee trashed. Like, because they're supposed to just pass their coffee out for free. They're not a business. Matt Best and JT and Evan did not build this powerhouse because they want to give out free coffee. And mind you, they do donate a hell of it to the active duty. Congratulations, I'm a huge fan of Black Rifle and everything they do. But it seems to go on, I'm just singling them because they see people, oh, what do they do? How much do they give back? I'm like, they give back a lot, but they're still you still got to make money. I mean, you got employees. So let's kind of kick this off. Mindset of businesses. How do we turn that frown upside down? I'm all of commercials today. Can you hear all my clips?
I'm like, you're metaphorical. You're like a walking video tweetable.
Like, boom, let's go. But I mean, let's talk about that. You are the man. You're the lighthouse. When I want to think about what businesses are thinking, I'm coming to you. You are the lighthouse, or I call you the business whisperer. But I'm sure that's.
I love that. I'll take that all day. I might trademark that.
Yeah, man. You go trademark that shit and say it came from me.
All day.
Put an E in the C just so I have.
Yeah, we'll do it.
I just want the love on that, man. But no, seriously, that's what I come to you. That's why I saved this topic for you. I could have picked others, but to me, you get it. Number one, you're a serial entrepreneur. You got your hands in you got a lot of stakes in the fire, and some of them have been good during COVID. Some of them have fallen flat on their face, and you're not afraid to do it. One thing, man, and I'm not just saying this because you're my buddy, but you're not afraid to show emotion online about your businesses and the struggles that you go through. I wish more people did that because I'm sick of the false, I call it profit stuff. It's probably wrong. Again, like I've done 3 times so far in the last 4 weeks, is apologizing to Jesus. I apologize for complaining about kneeling in church. Jesus, I'll apologize for calling people false prophets. But again, it's the same thing, right? These folks who are online, like, buy my product, I'm a baller, but I'm really not. I'm like balling from my couch or balling from my parents' basement. And I'm misleading people, like so many people. That's how I look at those folks. Then there's you. You're crushing it in business, but some of your businesses are struggling, and you wear your heart on your chest, dealing with a lot of things. You're emotional. It's good to see that because, number one, it's good to see men cry. 2, you also wear pink shoes, which I'm a mad fan of because that's what we do around here. That's what good dads do, man. I
own it all day. Pink is
man.
the color, man. It's the color.
Pink. I got a pink shirt. I almost rocked it today, but decided to go with the black V. But let's talk about that. How do businesses fix this mentality of just having this crappy business mindset? Like, and I mean it like a storm came in. Like COVID came in, and now it's like, oh, I'll just hide under the COVID blanket of it's my excuse. Why can't I get my deliverables? COVID.
Yep.
What? But you're not in the media, so you're not like, for me when I say it, it's like because we deal with a breaking news cycle, which is a beast. But if you're selling this, I need you to explain why there's a delay of 12 weeks to get this to me. If you're selling a product, there's no excuse anymore. I mean, even Amazon's back to giving us stuff same day or next day. So the mail works. So explain to me this business mentality and how we can fix it.
Yeah, man, I think it's an absolute honor to like have this question, but I think you nailed it in the beginning, right? Like there's only one of 2 ways you can go, and I think what's happening, there's a couple of things that I've seen, right? So the first thing is that you nailed it. You can either fight or flight, right? It's one of those 2 things. You can either progress or regress. And everybody's in this holding pattern. Holding patterns do not exist. That's regression, right? That is regression. You doing nothing is doing something, and it's not moving forward. And so that's the first part, is that in every moment in your business, in your life, there's only one of two things you're doing, and you're either moving forward or you're moving backwards, right? And so the first part here, and I'm going to be like a walking tweetable with you, it's that whole analogy, like, yes, this sucks. And on one side it sucks, but on the other side there's a lot of opportunity. And so when you think about it, it's like, oh, I got a flat tire. Well, if you stare at the flat tire, it doesn't fix itself. But if you slash the other three, that also doesn't help you. You're like, oh, I got a flat tire. I got to take it off, change it, put it on, and move forward. And so when we think about this, the biggest challenge that I've had, and I talk about this openly, and I learned this lesson years ago, is the romanticism about what it looked like, right? Because you get into this coasting mode, right? Oh, my business works, my sales are coming in, my social media is working. And you start to kind of get this level of comfort to where you might know it's only working at 80% of the solution, but it's working good enough to not be great. And so you get complacent, you get happy, right? And they always say good is the enemy of great. And this is something that the Stoics talk about, business coaches talk about. And it's one of those things. It's like, we're entrepreneurs, we're business owners. We didn't start it because we're like, oh, it's a predictable path. I'm going to go just guarantee my $1 million paycheck or $10 million, whatever. There's a level of us that loved solving problems and loved solving challenges. And what I found is most people I'm running into have gotten so far disconnected from why they do what they do. Now they're like, oh, I don't want to do it anymore. And so you got to get rid of the romanticism, right? Like, what it looked like yesterday is not what it's going to look like today. And I promise you, on my life, it will not look the same tomorrow. And so you have to fall in love with your product or your service or your offering, and love that like there's no tomorrow, but be willing to change the wrapping paper daily to make sure that it can go into the hands of the people that it can. Restaurants, right? Well, they love their food. Their customers love their food. They can't come into the restaurant. Some of them shifted overnight, like, well, I'll still get you my food. The wrapping paper looks different, right?
Yep.
I have a supplement company, a supplement store here that's run out of a gym. The gym just got their chains boarded up again the other day. And so they're like, fine. They're running parking lot madness, like text orders, running them out the door, leaving them on the curb. And so you have a problem or a solution to a problem that your customers have. Your customers still want the solution. It's just you have to think about the other ways in which you can give it for them. But here's what I will tell you, and Eric and I have talked about this before. If you focus on the target, you're going to miss, right? And if you sit there and you're like, okay, well, I took a shot and I missed. You missed. You can't see where it hit. That's why you missed, right? You got to take another shot. You got to take another shot. And that's what business is right now, and that's what it's going to be. And here's the thing. That's what it should have been from the first point, right? Like, I say this all the time, and this has happened to me. The moment you get comfortable in business, you're about to go out of business. Yep. The moment you are romantic about how you used to do business is the next moment that you're going to go out of business, because that is stagnation. And so the market changes, our consumers change, the messaging changes, the world changes, their consumption method changes, and most importantly, their attention shifts. And if you're stuck and you're heavy and like, oh, we have to move the Titanic, or it's too much, or we can't do it, well, their attention goes elsewhere that you can't go, and then you can't catch up to them and get it. And so the first thing that you have to do is you have to take a look at where you are. I don't want to hear the crap. I don't want to hear like, oh, what's happening? No, like, where am I? Like, when I look in the mirror, what do I have for a business? What do I have for assets? What do I have for platforms? Where is my audience? And you have to do an audit of where you are. And then it's really, really simple. Once you know your assets, you then have to figure out where the attention is. Right? Where are they looking? Where are they consuming? What are they doing right now? And then your only job is to build a bridge. And listen, you might build 20 that nobody drives over, right? But the 21st one it is. And I said this analogy on a coaching call earlier. Someone's like, what do we do? I'm like, listen, I'm not a baseball guy. I'm not a sports guy, right? But I guarantee you that if you put me on an MLB field with a baseball and I got pitched to 1 out of 5,000 pitches, I guarantee I'd at least touch the ball once. Nope. But I'm going to have to keep swinging, because either the pitcher's going to get tired or he's going to throw me a slow one, or I'm just going to get super lucky and then follow that path, that mechanic, and that lesson and move it forward. And so when we think about this mindset, the worst thing we can do is literally freeze, right? Like, that is the worst thing. It's why when we're in the military, Eric and I are both Marine veterans, they train us to basically the point where we don't think anymore. because when something happens, you need to default into action to create something different. And so when you think about this, I think about the ways or the things that get in the way of that happening. And the first thing for me is denial, right? It's dissonance with ourselves, right? Like being like, oh, it's not that bad. No, it is that bad. It's not that scary. It is that freaking scary. I didn't lose that much money. No, you did lose that much money. You did lose that many customers. But in order to find a solution, a path, you've got to get honest with where you are. And then the next thing you got to do is you got to forgive yourself, because you're going to make up a whole lot of stories, right? Like I have all of them right now. I've lost 2 businesses in this. I've lost the boom, boom, boom. I'm such a failure. I don't care. All of that is keeping me stuck. You got to forgive yourself for what it is. And then you literally just have to look of like what 1 step forward is, or 10 steps forward, or 20 steps forward, and be like, okay, I know I got to get to that new place. What am I going to do today? I'm going to do a live video, or I'm going to change this, or I'm going to make this phone call, or I'm going to call 10 customers and ask them how I can support them. And I'm going to put myself into action to learn the lessons I need to learn to mold or chameleon myself into what the current market looks like. And that's kind of my spiel on that one.
No, and I love that, because that's true. And I am a sports guy, so I will jump all over it, because I was thinking when you're talking about shots, right? And I know we were talking about range, but I'll take it one step further for people can visualize. Think about it as basketball, right? If you've watched an NBA game, ever watched them warm up, they're firing up shots from all over. And they're not all, I mean, in the greats, Michael Jordan, I've watched him miss a ton of shots in warm up. Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, freaking LeBron James. I've watched all of them warm up. Carmelo Anthony, the 15th leading scorer in the NBA history, with one of the most pure jump shots you'll ever see. These guys miss shots. But it's called practice, and they continue to make shots, and they miss them during games. Some of the greatest, Allen Iverson, is famous for shooting a ton of shots. The late Kobe Bryant was known for firing up as many shots as it took to get the job done. So I don't understand why people don't relate that is just taking one shot and walking away. Yeah. It's like, not everything is a one swing home run. And I know everybody, they'll watch a movie, they'll watch Boiler Room and be like, one call close. I mean, and we've all worked with those guys. Everybody thinks they're, Jordan Belfort or somebody. And it's like, Jordan will tell you it took over and over failure. Grant Cardone will tell you it. Gary Vee. I mean, I could go down the list. Lewis Howes will tell you it's not nobody's an overnight success from going, well, hold on, George, you're going to close, right? No, you get on the phone and you hope, but it takes a lot of time to get to the point where you're a one-call closer and you're good at it because your pitch goes down. You get a lot of no's before you get the yeses, and I think it's funny, in 2020 that seems to have been like thrown out the door, and we're like, well, I read a book. I read a book. This should happen. I see this guy online doing it. He's leaning on a Lambo. He must be doing it. And I think it's funny because you brought up an interesting point, and I've been dealing with this and coaching folks through it. There's some younger business owners out here that have this mentality that this old school business way of hustling and grinding is the way to do it, and there's only one set way. And they don't even believe in pivoting. They don't believe in adapting and overcoming to make customers understand that you're going to have to make changes on the fly. Call an audible for a sports thing, right? You're going to come to the line, see the defense, and go, this isn't going to work. What we talked about, I might not be able to deliver on, but here's XYZ to make it right. That's what you have to do as a business owner today in 2020. And business owners, if you're honest and you're like, yep, when we spoke, I probably said we were going to be able to do this. But if you're a good business owner and you have the huevos rancheros to say, hey, it's crazy right now. But we're going to go this way, and maybe not that one, but how about I give you 4? Or you make it sweet, because at the end of the day, you want to retain your customers, because you can't believe in this younger business model I'm seeing is this belief of just go get new customers, and not keep the ones you have. Like retainment just became something of like the past. I'm like, I can tell you that our business will no longer take new clients past September. That's where we're at the point of we can't take new because we have so many old that are there, and I don't want it to be clogged. We have to have our team growing. But it's weird to talk to business owners who disagree with me on this, and they look at our advice, even the advice you give online. I mean, folks, I'm not saying this because I'm on his payroll, because I'm not. But if you're not in George's Facebook group, you're wrong. There's so much good advice. I might not go on there daily, but when I stop and kind of go through it, I'm telling you, I'm wearing out pins from writing down the knowledge that's not just coming from George's mouth, but the people in these groups. I'm telling you, good business owners are in there doing their homework, and they're in the gym. And that's your mind gym, right? Like you and I like to go to the gym. You're much buffer than I am, but we won't talk about that. I'm older. I'll use that as my excuse today. I'm older than George. But I mean, just like you want to work on your mind with meditation, yoga, and working out, you have to do that with your business too. And I think the business mindset and the personal mindset go hand in hand. Depression is a beast, and it'll get a hold of you, and it'll affect your business. And you're right, you will become complacent. And I don't understand why people are so like, it's cool. It's like, are you serious? There's enough zeros in your bank account right now? Because that could go away. Mm-hmm. You could go from millions in your bank to eating top ramen again real fast. And you have to live like that. And I think some business owners don't want to live that way. I live that way to the point where it drives my wife nuts. She's like, why do you live this way? She's like, you act like you're going to wake up tomorrow and somebody's going to take it all from us. And I go, yeah, until we retire and there's enough that I know our kids are taken care of and we're taken care of, that a rainy day would not wipe us out. Absolutely. I'm going to work that way and live with that mentality. If that means I got to get up at 5 a.m. and grind, I will. Just like you get up to make sure you spend time with your family. We all have our priorities. Again, and I'll go back to it, and everybody's probably like, crap, he's going to talk about this book again. The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari by Robin Sharma.
Good old Robin Sharma.
Right? Like the best book, because it's true. Like, put your family first and your business will blossom. Take care of yourself. And I say this, and I've seen you say it, and I think I steal it from you. But if you don't put yourself first and your own happiness and your own success first, you're not going to be able to help people in the long run. Mm-hmm. So what, you turn on the hose one time to a garden, that means the garden's going to grow? No, you got to water that garden every day, but you got to garden your own, you got to water your own. Look at us, we're gardening, shooting, sports, we're all over the effing place today. If you're watching, you're like, I relate to one of these topics that the guys are using as their analogies today. So that leads me to this, George. Why is it for some businesses, it's easier to hate success than want to work with successful people? And you know what I mean. I would partner with you, and you and I are doing things anyways. I would partner you with in a heartbeat. I have PR firms and media firms that would be considered competition that are my partners, that we do business together because we can grow stronger together. And why compete? Why cut each other's Achilles tendons when we can all make money together? Why do so many businesses refuse to do this and live in this 1950s business model that it's the Yankees versus the Red Sox at all times, the Hatfields and McCoys, whatever you need to go with, whatever analogy you need? Why is it so easy for businesses, instead of working together, they want to do this solo act where they make goose egg instead of making something? I'd rather make half of something than nothing. That's just my mentality for business.
Totally. And really, I'm going to rip the band-aid off on this. It comes down to two things. It's ego and insecurity. That's it. That's all it is all day. It's ego because you want it to be about you, which means you've already lost the game, because the only way to win in business is to have it be about your customers, right? As Donald Miller says, your customer is the hero, not you. And I watch this all the time. Entrepreneurs, businesses, agencies, like, oh no, I'll never. I'm like, well, that's why you're going to be stuck, because it's about you. When you make your customers the hero, they tell the world how great you are. When you make you the hero, you have to spend all your time giving everybody your own lip service, telling them how good you are. Yeah. And then the insecurity being, I find this a lot, and it's happened to me as well. When I go to partner with somebody, or I want to, or they ask me, my immediate reaction was no. And I had to take a look at why. And it was, the why was I was threatened because it exposed holes that I had in my game. And so I had two choices. I could either be like, no. I'm like, hey, actually, you're right. And I could use some help with this, right? This is what I'm feeling. They're like, oh, no, that's not a big deal. We'll help you with that. Right? But those are the two biggest ones. And really, it boils down to self, the person making the decision, right? Because you have two choices. You have the choice to succeed, or you have the choice to be right. And I'm going to tell you something right now. As an entrepreneur, as a business owner, if you are right all the time, you are not succeeding. Like, entrepreneurship is falling in love with being wrong. Entrepreneurship is partnering with people that are better than you, partnering with people that help you learn stuff, finding holes in your game and progressing forward. And quite frankly, giving yourself a chance to even play in the game by practicing, putting the pads on and stepping in. And so if you keep yourself in an echo chamber of like, this is what I am, I'm so good, everybody in the world knows how good I am, you're going to end up being the only one telling everybody in the world that you're good, and nobody will be listening anymore, right? And so that's what it comes down to. So when you have opportunities, they're going to push you. They're going to make you uncomfortable. Every time someone's like, oh, you want a partner? I normally go one of two ways immediately. It's my ego. It's like, oh, this is going to help me so much. Or, oh, shit. Oh, what do I got to do to this? And you got to pick your path, and you got to be open about all of them. And the reason, like Eric says, that I wear my heart on my sleeve is because if Eric comes to partner, I'm like, hey man, I want to, but like I feel like I don't have this, I don't have this. And he's like, oh, that doesn't matter. Or hey, you need that. Let's talk through it together. But either way, I'm presenting a challenge and finding a solution. I'm not addicted to holding on to it, so I'm right. And so when you look at these things in your business, when you look at these things and the choices that you make, if you are right, you're going to stay there. There's a reason that you get uncomfortable. There's a reason that it pulls out, new information or challenges your belief system. And that's normally because it lands. And Eric, the analogy I always tell people, and I do this when I coach people, I'll be like, what do you think about this? They're like, oh, I think it's this. I'm like, oh, well, you should do this. Like, no, 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 no. And they get really defensive. I'm like, okay. I'm like, you're a purple dinosaur. And they're like, no, I'm not. I'm like, yeah, but notice how you didn't react. And I was like, you suck at social media. And they're like, no, I don't. I'm like, okay, cool. So raise your hand and say I'm right again. But I don't want to be right. Let's talk about it, right? And like when we think about this, it's a really, really simple path. And the way that I think about it, 7.5 billion people on the planet, right? There is no way to reach all of them by yourself, and there's no way to get all of them by yourself. And collaboration and community is always the best way to win. And when we think about even traffic in companies, right? You can have owned traffic, you can have earned traffic, or you can have paid traffic. Owned is the base of everything. It's where you send people, right? You can either go spend your dollars to try to get people that might get you, or you can fast track the process and spend some relationship points capitalizing on another one and have a warm intro into a straight friendship that you do it with, and everybody gets to win, because it's really not about competition. Because if you and I were competitors, we went in the same room, we're similar, but we're very different. There's going to be people be like, I can't stand that George guy, but give me Eric, and vice versa. And that's the way that it's supposed to be. If you're playing it any other way and you're trying to convince somebody to stay with you or manipulate them to stay, or playing mommy dad, they don't exist, or talking bad about them, all you're doing is pushing them further away. Yep. And it's all because you just want to be right. So very simply put, if you are right in your business all the time, you're not going to have a business much longer. Yep. And so if you can recognize that and you can find these opportunities to partner, like the reason, Eric, my favorite one is everyone's like, man, you say yes to every podcast. They're like only have 100 downloads. I'm like, today. I'm like, and when they're the number one show on the planet in 4 years from now, and I can come on every single month that I want to, it's going to be a very different story. And now you're going to email them like, no, you remember when you said no to me? Right? Like it's all about collaboration and community and paying it forward. And if you fill your tank, like you said, if you make sure your bucket's met and then you give that out to the world, it's unattached. There's no strings attached. It's received and it's well, because I hate to tell everybody, but the people consuming your content, reading your messages, reading your captions, watching your videos can feel whether you are authentically there to serve them or if you are authentically there to manipulate them. And one of them works every time and one of them pushes them away.
Amen. Wow, this is, dude, you're like, I feel like we should be praising, like saying amen and dancing around in circles, eating chickens and stuff. I don't know. Just ripping chicken heads off. I don't know. I'm just making that shit up as I go. But I know. I'm going to hell now. Show took a drastic turn with Eric. But it's crazy that so many businesses, and I always say this is my kind of adage, I don't want to celebrate alone. Like, I don't like eating alone, and I don't want to, I mean, I'll eat alone if I need to, but I hate celebrating alone. I love a victory, and the more people who are involved in victory, you've been part of our victory dance. I've thanked you. As everybody knows who's watching the show has been picked up by a network. You never told us no. You show up through anything and everything, and we appreciate you for it, but you've been part of the celebration, and it's been great with the folks who have supported us through all of it and know what we do, and they know our reputation, and they know how we're going to deliver, and we upgrade on everything we're doing. And I think people need to learn from that, but so many are stubborn and they're set in their ways, and they're like, we're going to do business this way, it's the only way, and this is how we're going to do our victory. And it's like, no. And it's like so many people build a relationship that they've never really had with people. And I have this conversation all the time. Somebody goes, well, you work with this person, and I'm not going to name drop because that's just really cheesy, but big name people with huge podcasts, huge presence online. And people are like, you work for them for basically nothing? I said, their network is worth way more to me than any amount of money you can put in my bank. They're like, well, that's crazy. And I'm like, nope. I'm like, because it opens 500 doors, and I know how many doors I need to open that keep me really happy and well-fed in the life that I like to lead. And it gives me my partners, because there's a lot of people out there that will I'm just patting my team on the back. My team knows that if somebody says, hey, I need this, this, or this, we know who we can send them to. And it's a whole bunch of partners, and we have it, and we're like, hey, we'll keep it in-house. We'll do the grunt work. You'll just be passed to them internally, but we'll do it, white label it right in here. They're our partner. You don't need to worry. Be like, oh, it's crazy. But that's how it is. Even George and I with working together. I mean, George, you and I have to say the same thing. And I think it's just something that says, I don't think it's just because we're Marines and we're the best. I think it has to do with the fact that we actually love what we do. And I think a business owner that says, how can I serve you, is truly the business owner I want to work with. And sometimes you won't have anything. I'll say just support us. Or if you know anybody who has this, or let us know how we could do it. Because at the end of the day, if I can put somebody on that has an ability to help their business survive, they'll pay that back tenfold. I've never had anybody, okay, I've had people use me, but those people fail the sniff test now. I'm talking about good people. It's weird that the business world still struggles with this. And in 2020, it's gotten worse. People are like separating, and I'm like, well, if we're all in the same boat trying to swim out through this the tidal waves, you can't have one JA in the back not rowing. Everybody's got to row to get through those. If you're on a Zodiac, you know what I'm talking about. It's not just the SEALs that do this crap. Corps does it too. Everybody's got to dig it and do it, but we celebrate together. Why do you think so many business owners, we talked about ego, so let's dive into ego a little bit more, because it's a huge thing. I've had it. I'm sure you've had it.
Yeah.
You hit that level of success, you look in your bank account, you can buy whatever you want. You're in that place, right? You're in that zone where you're like, this is good. There's that point where you're like, is my ego so strong that I don't want outsiders? If I don't even want to listen to criticism. Like, I remember that. Like, hell no. And then your ass is humbled about 6 months later, and then you're like, never again will ego get in my way. I will partner with every human being. I'll never say no. I'm like you. I will never say no to a podcast. And I hear people go, well, how many reviews does it have? And it was funny because it was your podcast. A couple weeks ago, I was like, hey, they were like, I need to get on a podcast. Do you know anybody? I'm like, yeah, my buddy does. I had never, when I would listen to your podcast, I just subscribed to it and listened to it.
Yeah.
But I've never looked how many reviews you have. And that's how people grade a lot of things on podcasts. A successful podcast is based off 75 or more reviews.
I don't even know how many reviews I have.
You have over 100. Which is
awesome.
Outstanding. Yes, and they're current. Like after each episode, somebody says something about you, which is a good thing. And they're not George Bryant, so it's pretty cute. Nobody with the last name Bryant has made any reviews in the last 6 months, so it's safe. It's not like George hasn't used his entire family. It was like, George is the best. No, but they went and looked, and I was like, yeah. I'm like, you didn't even know? I'm like, his podcast is killing it. Over 100 reviews. You have a ton of shows, and you have big name guests. You should go on it. And they're like, but I'm like, but what? Do you think? I'm like, everybody wants Joe Rogan, and the great Ed Milet, and Lewis Howes, and John Lee. All great guys, don't get me wrong. Love each one of them. I think they're all badasses, and I know that we have mutual love for each other, and I've had great conversations with all of them, and I know you have too. But you got to humble yourself, and you got to do these shows because you got to help these folks out. I have no problem doing a podcast from anybody who's like, it's just finding time, I think, is my biggest, hold on, yes, but hold on, let me find the Eric schedule. There's like 4 people who maintain my schedule, and I think I drive them nuts because I say yes all the time. I'm like, yes. They're like, can you check with us first? I'm like, no, I won't do that. So why do you think ego gets in so many people's ways? Why, when they even know they have the ego, why don't they like, I should get rid of that? Why do so many business leaders keep the ego?
Yeah. I think the most important thing to remember is that ego is healthy. Like, ego is a good thing. Yeah. It's something that we have. It's a gauge. It helps us go, right? But it's also, I think there's a big difference between like an honest ego and like a dissonant ego, right? And what I found, and like I'll just use history as an example here, like when you look at the greats never said they were great, ever, right? Everybody else said they were great. The ones that were screaming they were great fell in love with their victory, and then they all fell off because they got complacent and they lost what it was that got them there, right? And so like when you think about the Eds, the reason the Eds are so successful is because you could take every one of Ed's downloads away, every one of his followers away, and he would still do the same thing every day because he loves the process and he knows the process is the path to success, right? And so to be really frank with what it is, the reason that ego gets in the way once you reaches a level of success is because the success was achieved through insecurity, not through a good driven goal or a vision that you had, right? That's also why expectation hangover comes. That's why people sell companies and have to start another one. It's why they get time off and then you see them fill their time with craziness or get into adrenaline filled hobbies, right? You got to make sure that you're doing things for the right reason. And like, this is why I love The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek, right? You're not here to build a 5-year business or a 5-year life. Like, you're here to have an impact and have a legacy. And so, in my opinion, the way to keep the ego healthy and in check is to have a vision and a clear vision of where you want to be 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 50 years from now. Like my students, one of the first thing I make them do, and this makes everybody uncomfortable, they have to draw a 100-year vision for their company. And they're like, whoa. And I was like, yes, what is it going to look like when you're dead? And they just stare me dead in the face. And I'm like, we'll start when you're done. And I'm doing it at my events. I do it in my coaching calls, right? Because what it does is it forces you to remove yourself from the equation and get into what the real needle movers are for the impact that you're going to have and what the service is that you're going to provide the world. And it's the easiest way to get connected to what it is that you do without it being you, right? Because when you really think about it, you don't have a business or a service that solves a problem if you are involved in the answer. If you are involved in any way, that's an ego-driven business. It's unscalable, it's unsustainable, and it actually sets your customers up to fail. If they're like, oh, how'd you double my business? Eric. How'd you double your business? George. No. How'd you double your business? Oh, through this 3-step strategy, through this process, through this channel, right? And so the first thing is like to make your ego in check is like you have to be really clear on what you're doing and why you're doing it and who you're serving. And if at any point during your day and during your success, you're like, oh, I'm serving me, I'm serving me, I'm serving me, you're going to end up with a big smack in the face. And it's really lonely at the top when you get up there. I promise. I've been there. Eric's been there. It's crashed down because that means, and best coaching I ever got, hey, you're successful, right? But have you seen all the dead bodies behind you? And that one, knowing the language that we speak, hit me at every single core. And it's like, God. And then I started asking for feedback from my team. And they're like, that's how I feel every day. There's no space for me. You don't hear our ideas. And it's like, oh, shit. And so when you think about it, like it's really just about being present and grounded with who you are, who you want to serve, and how you're going to do it. And making sure at every step of the way, before you even get into the results of your bank account and the results that are there, that all the people that are involved in getting that there, the team, the VAs, the agencies, the partners, the influencers all feel and understand what their part was. And that is the healthiest way that I've ever found to stay in check. Like, for example, when I'm checking with Eric, he's, how are things? I'm like, oh, I've lost 2 companies. I'm living on a loan right now and I'm scared crapless. And he's like, cool. Anything I can do to help you? I'm like, no, I'm super happy right now, but thanks for asking. And then the moment I need something, I'm like, yeah, great. And when you give me advice and feedback or an idea, I'm like, yeah, let's go try it, right? And then I'm like, hey, man, thanks. That made a big difference. Thanks for listening to me. Thanks for here. But then, the old me, because I'll just put myself on a platter for all of you. 3 years ago, you'd ask, I'm like, I'm great. I'm blah, blah, blah. And then I'd get off and I'd go bawl my eyes in the corner in the fetal position. And my wife wouldn't talk to me for 3 days because I was being a little punk and I wouldn't be honest. I was lying to myself, and that's just a guaranteed path to success. We're humans. You're supposed to have emotions. In order for you to achieve success, you also have to feel like what resistance feels like. In order to be happy, you're going to have moments of sadness. In order to have flow, you're going to have resistance. And I think it's how you communicate in those things, how you honor your feelings, how you present them, how you share them, and how you lead through them that has the biggest impact on the results in your business and, quite frankly, your emotional health when you get there or don't get there. Because right now, this is the most challenging time I'd say anybody in our lifetime has had in business, unless you were in the real estate market in like 2009 or events then. But most of the time, I'd say, like, blanket statement, probably the most challenging time that you could have. And quite frankly, I'm the happiest I've ever been. And it's stacked up like it's crazy, but I have the relationships with you and the people in my life. And most importantly, I have the relationship with myself. Like, oh, I'm scared today. What am I going to do? Well, I can sleep in or I can get up at 3:30 in the morning, go to the gym. Let's go.
And that's what you have to do, man. It's all mentality. I mean, I think it's funny, 2 Marines are talking about ego from probably the most egocentric branch of the military that there is. We are worse than CrossFitters, and when Marines CrossFit, it becomes worse. If you're a vegan CrossFitter Marine, oh shit, the whole world ends. Because you're definitely telling everybody that you're all 3. So I think ego is, and I've seen it in the Silicon Valley with a lot of Series A guys They don't want to give up control of their companies. And I think that's what I learned. And then I say, oh, I'll never be that way. Then I start my company and I'm exactly like the guys I used to say, you shouldn't do that. But then I remember numbers and it's still on my desk to this very moment. 90% of all startups fail. It's a very, that shit humbles you real fast. That brings you like, boom. Or when you get on with a conversation with your buddy, like George and I had, and George confesses that it's not all pretty, and you're like, damn, there's a guy that I'm looking at least he's honest, and he's not like in his mom's basement, but he's going and finding a Lamborghini to lean on. Like, I've always liked Lamborghinis. It's like, dude, you don't need to post this stuff. You don't need to be, there's just so many people. And then there's the folks that, and let's talk about it before you go, the hater thing. And I laugh at this because I chose, for the last 3 years, I have never responded to a hater. I could care less. I've sent emails if I work with somebody who ends up like, oh, they're doing this and I don't like it. Like I always say, I'm going to be professional because he said, she said, high school games don't happen in my business. And that's something that my team gave me feedback because trust me, I don't know if it's a Marine thing or being an Irish kid, but I love a good fight. And when people talk trash 3 years ago, you get a hot head, raised eyebrow, oh, let's go. And you'd have emails back and forth, text messages back and forth. And it was when I decided to take control of my business and go, no, we're going to have a conversation and it's going to be professional. And if you can't be professional, that's on you. I will keep it professional and then I'll just block your email and then you just have nothing. And I don't even care if we were working together. And it was hard because for a business guy, you always wanted to please everybody. And then you had to learn as a business. I think that's part of the mindset. And I want to preach on this for a minute. And I know I see you nodding, so that makes me happy. I think more business leaders need to put their foot down. You could get into partnerships or you could get into any kind of business with somebody and it just turned out it could go sour out of your own control because your businesses end up not aligning. You either, the way I do it, this is Eric's, this is, again, not a doctor, just like Dr. Phil, I'm not a doctor. Ooh, did I say that out loud? He's not a doctor, I'm not a doctor. It's funny, I'm gonna add that to my name. Anyways, that's not the point here. But I think for businesses, I always try to finish what I said we would start and do my damnedest to do it. I don't need to talk to you to get it done. I'll get it done. Don't come at me and say it can't get done because it will. You could be unprofessional, but all you're going to get is an email that's going to drive you nuts because I'm going to be like, my mission hasn't changed. The company's mission hasn't changed, and my company will finish what it's doing. I don't need to talk to you every day. In fact, we're going to have less contact with each other. You'll get one email a week from us, and this is what we'll do. And if something changes and we need to get a hold of you right away, we'll send an email, but we're not going to communicate. And it's funny how so many business owners don't like that. They're like, I don't like email. I want to text you. I don't want you texting me at carte blanche on the weekend nonstop because that's my family time. I don't want you bugging me past 5 p.m. on a weeknight because that's time for the family, or if I'm doing other things, because I do other things other than sit here in front of a camera or run an agency. And I think business owners need to learn that. So how do you deal with, what's your advice to the haters? Because I see so many business owners, and these sniff test, if a business owner focuses and makes a post about their haters, I have haters, the haters are here. I'm like, why do you care? You're feeding them. Don't feed the trolls. Don't feed your haters. Ignore them. Kill them with silence. They hate it. They have nothing better to do and they move on. They may pick on you for like 3 months. Be a big boy, big girl, put your big panties on, your big britches on, move along, ignore them. You're winning. Let them continue sitting there wasting space, spinning their wheels. They already have plenty of time because clearly they found you as a target. They'll go away. So what's your advice if it's different than what I just said? How do you handle haters? Because I'm sure you have them. You're a successful guy, run a lot of businesses. There's a lot of people in your space, and you have no problem in your ads and the sponsored posts freely sharing that you give away the same thing these clowns charge made up money for, and you give it away for free. So in fact, I've seen some of your haterade that comes out on there where people are like, this guy. So
Yep, yeah.
How do you handle yours?
Haters are my favorite one. So I say haters just want to be heard, right? And so the thing is that, so the first thing is if you have a hater, it's a compliment. It's a compliment. Mm-hmm. And here's why. We made a commitment to do X. We made a commitment to sell a product, to help somebody scale their business, to do social media better. And if you put out a piece of content and somebody comes and hates it, that just means you hit the exact sweet spot. You found your avatar, right? How you handle it determines the success of that entire interaction. My favorite thing is I turn haters into customers in about 2 messages. And it starts with, oh my God, you're so right. Anything I can do to support you? And literally 9 out of 10 times, it's like, oh my God, I didn't think this was you. I thought it was a bot. There was no way you were running this. Sorry, I'm just so frustrated and so scared. I don't know where this is going to come. When you said that, it scared me even more. And I'm like, great, you want to get on a call? And literally, like, I have turned haters into mastermind students. I've turned haters into customers. And of course, there's going to be the outlier. There's going to be people that, aren't worth the time. But the way I see it is I give everybody 2 touch points, right? You come to me with hate, I come to you with love. I try to hear you, right? Because at the end of the day, human beings only want 3 things: to be seen, heard, and respected, right? And most of the time, haters exist because somebody will leave a comment. They won't feel one of those things, and it escalates because what they're really saying, and they're not going to tell you this, I follow you because I have hope in you. I feel like you're my solution, boom. And then, could be one of your followers or somebody else's. They had an expectation, so they're having expectation hangover. They wanted it to be easy. They wanted to feel understood. And so if you take a moment, like just a moment to understand, just like if you're walking down the street and you bump into somebody with your head down, when you two pick your heads up, there are one of 2 options. It's either you're going to go to blows or you're going to understand, right? And the thing is, I seek to understand. And the truth is, we talked about ego in this episode. We talked about ego today. The only reason a hater can get to you is because you are insecure and your ego is butthurt.
Yep.
And so if you look at it and you're confident in what you do, like what Eric said is so important. Like, these are my containers. These are my rules. These are my rules of engagement. And this is how it's going to be. And it's not personal. And if you want to talk about it at 5:15 p.m., we can talk about it at 9:01 a.m. when I come get to your email. And you can let there and marinate, right? And then if you tell me that it upsets you and it makes you feel sad, I'm going to say, I understand, and this is my field. And so when haters come into my world, which, by the way, most of my haters are my competitors, not my customers. But when they come into my world, like, oh man, I can't believe you said that. I'm like, cool, let's jump on a call. Like, my default response is like, here's my Zoom link, here's my Zoom link, here's my Zoom link. And it's in a matter of 2 minutes before I have a business partner, a friend, a colleague, and all I'm doing is giving them space to give their basic Maslow hierarchy of needs met, right? Like, they just want to feel safe. And so I do the same thing online. I have different opinions. Eric and I actually share very different political opinions, but we love each other. We don't, like, we can have differences of opinions and not hate each other, right? It's because I hear him, he hears me, boom, boom, boom. And so the same thing with haters, right?
I didn't
And
even
so
know that, to be brutally honest, brother, that we didn't, because we have never debated, like, we don't go at each other, because we're like, dude,
yeah.
Like, you're my boy, and I'm like, I don't care. I mean, they're my opinions, they're yours. I think I'm very, the funny thing is a lot of vets, I think we're on, I mean, at least the vets I associate with, they're all like, it's cool, you have your opinion, and you can have a friendly back and forth, and you don't have to, like, get to like some of these people that are like,
Totally.
I'm gonna, like, you're not coming to Thanksgiving. I'm like, holy
Totally,
crap,
but
calm down.
when you think about it, like, we can see each other's posts, we can text, and here's the thing: we've probably had conversations, but because there's no animosity, there's no ego, there's no insecurity, it's like, oh, cool, respect it, have it, do it. So when we think about haters, you have 2 options: you can go silent, you can ignore them. I'm okay with that, right? It is your world, and I think that's the most important thing to remember. You would never let anybody walk in the front door of your house and disrespect you, right? So don't let them do it online, but you also have an ability, if you choose to, on how you converse with that solicitor, right? Like, my neighborhood has 4 no solicitation signs, and literally it's like once a week, once a week, once a week. And my wife was getting angry. I'm like, okay, babe. And she's like, what are you gonna do? I'm like, hey man, come have a cup of coffee. And like, we get there, and then he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, you're not supposed to be in my house or my neighborhood, but I figured everybody else was yelling at you, so I might try something different. And the kid's like, oh my God, I'll take you off every list. He came by and like brought me a coffee like a week later. He'll come in the neighborhood and do rounds, and he never comes to my house. But if I'm outside, I'm like, hey man, how you doing? Right? And so you got to choose how you deal with it. And in my world, like, I sit here and I'm like, hey, listen, I'm a lighthouse. There's going to be some boats that crash into my dock and I don't like it. There's going to be some guys like, your light wasn't bright enough. I'm like, cool, but I knew what my light was doing and I'm okay with that, so I'm ready to handle it. So the thing that I would say is check in with yourself, right? And here's the thing. I'm going to say this. This is the biggest business lesson I've ever learned with haters. If what a hater said lands in any way, shape, or form, go take a look at it and don't blame the hater, because that is a business gift that you would have not found otherwise. Because here's what I'm going to tell you. If it doesn't land, you can hit it with love, compassion, empathy. But if there's a sliver of a reaction in your body, your stomach churns, you get anxiety, there is truth to something they said. And it's so easy to call them the hater when it could also be the gift and the secret to your business succeeding. And so that's what I'm going to leave you with on that one.
I love that, because that kind of ties in, and we'll wrap But it ties in. I had this experience recently where somebody, they don't do what we do for a living, but they work with us. They no longer, we've squished that. But I said, hey, have them call me. If they have an issue, they need to explain it. Oh, they're hot, they hate you, they're bup. They get on the phone 5 minutes in, and now we're buddies. It's like we're texting, everything is better. I walked them through. They felt great because they were having an adult conversation, not somebody who was calling them bro or dude and not remembering that they spent an enormous amount of money with them. And, you know, they're sharing their stories with me, and I'm like, well, let's fix this. How do we fix this? And you have to do that. And I think so many people don't understand that if they get on a call with you, they will quickly see that you want to just diffuse a bad situation and be like, hey, how can I help you? A lot of my former people who didn't like me, there's still a list, I'm sure, but some of them, you know, they'll get on the phone with me and they'll talk to me and they'll pitch business ideas, which threw me out of left field. Somebody who didn't like me 3 years ago was like, hey, I want to pitch this brand to you. And I'm like, why are you, like, almost you want to ask, like, well, you know you called me, right? I just want to make that clear. You sent me your Zoom link, and I'll sit on it because I'll sit there at my desk and smile away. But the whole time my brain's going, you do know that like 3 years ago you like basically put me on blast for no reason, and now you're like, I really love your network. And I'm like, I bet you do. I'm like, that's an interesting. So yeah, I just think it's interesting. Haters, I don't focus on them, and I try to turn any bad situation into a good one. I don't believe there's anything that can go wrong in a business. You can always fix it. That's my mentality. I work in media, so I'm a little lucky that we can always find podcasts to put people on. We can always find something, so you're constantly talking. Build your network. Never say no to podcasters, and make sure your friends all have podcasts because they'll always hook you up. That's just a good tip of advice. I think they'll always take care of you. George, buddy, as always, it's good to have you. The next time we see you, we will be on TV. So that's kind of fun. Woohoo! So this is our final normal people show.
I'll buy a tuxedo T-shirt.
Oh, we will. We're getting T-shirts.
Nice.
Matching. I have to get a V though. I like the V with the jacket.
I'll wear the V. I'll wear the V.
You gotta wear the V. I don't know.
I'll wear the V. I'll wear a V, and then I'll put like a tuxedo on one of them. You know, we'll get fun here. T-shirts are my outfits.
I love it, my friend. Well, I want to thank you again for coming on. I'm sure everybody who's tuned in today is like, woo, learned a lot about business. And I think it's important, and that's why you were the guy for this, because when it comes to a business mindset, number one, you're always very motivating. And like I said, you do wear your heart on your sleeve. You put it all out there. Sometimes I do send you those messages like, bro, you good? Because, you know, when you get those tears in your eyes, I got to be concerned. You know, we are our brother's keepers, and that's our job. But, you know, I'm used to it. I know what it is George is being, it's emotional and you're wearing your heart on your string, or George is having one of those days where you got to go Iggy Six your ass and be like.
Yeah, most of the time, there's not many things that come out anymore that you got to worry about anymore. Yeah. It's all like, oh, yeah, I'm good. I'm checked in. It's time to go.
I did that with another Marine. He posted something. I'm like, you good? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, you got to be careful. He's like, damn it, you guys. He's like, I know who my boys are because you're just like, you good?
Yep.
I'm like, I was just passing through on Twitter. I saw something and I'm just like, all I care, are you good? I don't care what you're talking about. Just an interesting post. Just want to make sure you're good. I'm good. Okay. Yep. Just to let you know, if you need to talk to somebody, the phone works. So I want to thank you again for joining us, bud. We'll have you back on real soon. Everybody, George, the Lighthouse, Bryant, and we will have, as always, just check the links in there so you can connect with George. Make sure to follow him. I am George Bryant on the socials.
It's George Bryant.
What? It's George Bryant.
It's George Bryant. I'm not that egotistical. I am George Bryant. No, I know him. Sure. It's George Bryant.
I'm going to go create an alias.
When I had to pick between two emails that were available because the 77-year-old realtor in the Midwest had this thing, and it took me like 15 years to get this domain back, right? But the only two things that were available were It's George Bryant and The George Bryant. And I'm like, I think The is a little too conceited, so I'm going to go with It's. Like, hey, it's me, not hey, it's The.
It's George Bryant. I like it. It works. So yeah, go follow him there, and then we'll put your link into your website. And I just want to say he's such a real deal. He's actually going to be working with my wife. So to prove how tied in this is, my wife's going to be working with George. That's a whole nother episode. We're going to talk about these coaches that are out there that say they help. But I've been listening to coaches pitch my wife. Brother, that's a whole like 45 minutes by itself.
We might need a series for that one. It's like a 7-part mini series, 2 hours each.
It's super scary. So everybody out there, if you ever want stories, we'll come back. We'll actually do that. That should be our series. We'll go into the fall. That'll be our fall series. We're going to talk about these guys and gals online. You know the ones. Hey, I'll get you on TV tomorrow. No, you can't. Shut up. Just $99. Hey, look at the cool guy I stood next to who's like not wanting to touch me. Anyways, thanks, George, for joining us. Everybody else, stay tuned. We got more coming up after the break. Thank you for watching today's show. As always, if you'd like to be a guest or you know somebody that we should have on our show as a guest, feel free to email us at hello@tothepointtv.com. We look forward to hearing from you. And you can also email us if you have a complaint, want to give us kudos, high fives, or if you have an additional question for a guest. Feel free to email us again at hello@tothepointtv.com. Our Twitter is up and running, and it's for social good. Not yelling and screaming political or anything else crazy on our Twitter. So follow us on Twitter at @ToThePointTV, and we'll tweet back at you. And as always, we want you to check out our IG. We love Instagram. Our Instagram stories are up, they're buzzing, and they're meant for you. We love our fans and followers, and we want you to know who our guests are coming on, and we want you to engage with us, and we want to engage with you. So make sure you're following us at Instagram at @ToThePointTV. Now, we love you on Facebook, and we want to make sure, because you're probably watching this on Facebook, like, why would you already follow us? But tell a friend that they can come follow our show and never miss a live episode. As you know, here on Facebook, make sure you head, if you're not on Facebook watching this, then it's different, but our Facebook is To The Point with Eric Mitchell. So make sure you follow us there so you always get notified when our show goes live at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Now, for the folks over on YouTube. Now, YouTube, we love our YouTube, and our channel is growing, and we love you there. Now, if you missed the live show at 12 p.m. Eastern, you can catch the premiere, which is re-recorded. The premiere on YouTube goes down every day at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, and simply just go do that. So remember, with YouTube, what we want you to do is smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and flick that bell. That's right, hit the bell. Give that bell some bell love, and that way you know when we're on air and you can catch our latest episode. Check out our playlist. All of them broken down by the day and guest and show, so you can always stay up to date. Once again, on behalf of the entire team here at To The Point, we want to thank you for, again, tuning in and watching our show, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow on To The Point. As always, I am your host, Eric Mitchell. Be safe, be strong, be smart, and God bless America.
Let's get to the point with Eric Mitchell. Let's get to the point. Sit and enjoy. This is Eric Mitchell. He the host of the show. Get to the point. He is the voice. We needed this, something more. This a daily show that's known for politics and the sports. Ain't no limit to whoever you may see at this point. To celebrities, Eric he's beast in the joint. As a veteran, put him at ease, then anoint. Every conversation can never be disappointed. Whether tragic or it's happy, Eric will cover whatever's happening. Whether it be a gymnast, toe tapping, talking about nearly any athlete, not taking a back seat. You're never gonna get it past T. Everybody running from it, it's a stampede. But he's on it like this man who took that knee. Mr. Mitchell's way too crafty.